Hi, everybody. This is your video on triangle congruence criteria. So I'm going to talk you through our 5 different triangle congruence criteria and do a couple examples for you. The next video will have a short little video on some practice problems with triangle congruence criteria. Okay, so in the last set of videos that you watched on corresponding parts, we were able to match different corresponding parts in triangles to show that those triangles were congruent, right? And we mapped triangles onto one another. Okay, but as you saw in the last set of videos, that for every set of triangles, you have 6 pairs of things you can measure, right? 3 pairs of angles to match up and 3 pairs of sides. And that's a lot of measuring, right? That takes a lot of time. It's a lot of measuring and things to match up, right? So what we've figured out is if you know the right combination of different sides and angles, then you don't have to measure every single set and verify that every single set of corresponding sides and angles are congruent. If you have the right combination, then all of the others kind of fall into place automatically, okay? And those right combinations are our 5 triangle congruence criteria, okay? So in all of these, S stands for side, A stands for angle, H stands for hypotenuse, which is the longest leg in a right triangle, okay, and L stands for leg, obviously. Okay, so like I said, there's 5 triangle congruence criteria. There's really 4 main ones that we deal with because hypotenuse leg, which is this one, HL, only works in right triangles, right? So right triangles only. Okay, so there's HL and then there's 4 other triangle congruence criteria that if you know just these 3 sets of things, then you'll know that the triangles are congruent without having to measure the other 3 things, which is kind of cool. Okay, so our 4 triangle congruence criteria are side, 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 okay, side, angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side. Okay. So some of these are easier to identify than others. Okay, and I'm going to show you here on the left side of your screen. So these are the 5, right, triangle congruence criteria, and you can also see them on the left side of your screen, right? But I'm going to make this a little bigger here on this side so you can kind of see the writing a little bit better. Okay, so really the easiest ones of the main 4 up here to identify are definitely side, 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 and side, angle, side. Okay, those are the easiest. Okay, side, side, side is literally just you have to have all 3 matching pairs of sides. No angles, just all matching sides. So you can see here we have this one side at the bottom, right? This kind of slanted side here, right? And then this third side right here. So you have all 3 sides, all 3 pairs of sides. So you could say that these 2 triangles are congruent by side, side, side. Okay, because you have your 3 sides right here, side, side, and side. Okay, side, angle, side is probably the next easiest one to pick out because it's the only one that has just one angle, okay? It's very important, though, that that angle lies between the 2 sides that you know. So it has to be trapped between the 2 sides. Okay, so as you can see here, you have one side with the 1 congruence mark, 2 sides down here at the bottom, and then the angle is trapped between them, right? Physically trapped in between the 2 sides that you know of, okay? Which is exactly the same way that it's labeled and the way that it's named here, right? Notice that the A for angle is trapped between the 2 sides, the 2 S's there, okay? Then we get down to these other 2, both with 2 angles. These are the hardest ones for most people to identify like which is which when they're looking at a picture, because in both of them, there's one side marked and two angles. Okay, so again, just like this one, the side angle side, picking out ASA, angle side angle, the side that you know has to be trapped between the two angles that you know. Okay, so in this one, you have one angle here and one angle here. Okay, so the side that is trapped between the two, you kind of can take this angle and like follow it out here and follow it here. So you can see this is the side that is trapped between the two. Okay, right? You can almost think of it as like the side that that both angles share, like which side of this triangle is connected to both of these angles, right? So the side that I'm looking at that I know is this one, this kind of long slanted one, and it is a part of this angle and this angle, right? So the side is like trapped between the two angles, the same way that the S is trapped between the two A's in the name, okay? Then we get over to the other one with two angles, which is AAS, okay? Where the side is not trapped between the two angles, okay? So you have to have two angles, and then the side has to be one of the sides that's not in between these two. Okay, so notice how you have the same two angles, right? You have this one and this one, right? Angle, side, right, is this, right? That this side is marked. It's not the side that's trapped between the two angles. Okay, it's just kind of literally off to the side, right? Another way that you can think about this, and way you can think about most of these triangle congruence criteria, is if you pick one of these congruence marks to start with, and then you kind of follow logically to the next thing that has a congruence mark, like the shortest distance that you could go to get to the next thing with a congruence mark, then it'll tell you which one of these four that you're dealing with. Okay, so for example, on this one, the angle side, right, I could start here at this angle. The next closest thing that's marked congruent is this angle, and then after that comes this side, right? With side angle side up here, you would start with this side. The next closest thing that is marked as congruent is this angle, and then the next closest thing after that is this side, okay? These can seem a little bit complicated, especially these two, when you first start like dealing with it and practicing these. But the more that you see these pictures, the better you get at identifying them. Okay, and then HL is the last one. Notice that only works with right triangles, so you have to have that little square in there to tell you that it's a right triangle. And literally, it's just, do you have the hypotenuse that's marked as congruent, and then do you have one other side? So one other leg that's marked as congruent, okay? So give me a sec to clear my screen off, because there's a couple of these combinations here of sides and angles that won't work, and I want to show you why they won't work and kind of what's going on with those. Okay, so there are two criteria here that do not work and don't show that triangles are congruent. Okay, so the first is AAA, AAA, which is angle, angle, angle. Okay, the reason that that doesn't work is because if you have all three angles that are the same, you can make the side lengths whatever you want. You could make them really, really large or make them really, really small. Okay, you'll get triangles that are the same shape, but not necessarily the same size, which is exactly what you see here in this picture, okay? The other one that does not work, which most people get confused, and is the most difficult one for people to identify, is this one, SSA. Okay, it's not a triangle congruence criteria because you could end up making two different triangles. Okay, so this picture right here kind of shows you an example of that. So this right here is currently SSA. Okay, where you have this side, side, another side, so side, side, and then you have this angle right here. Okay, so having this information means I could draw another triangle that looks exactly like this one, right? That looks exactly like the one that's filled in. Okay, but I could also draw, right? I could take that side and swing it down so that it looks something like this, okay? Where this side length right here is still 6. So the side lengths are still congruent, the angles stayed congruent, but you have two triangles that are completely different shapes, right? So it's possible that it will make two different triangles, okay? The best way that I've found to remember this, right, and to show you which one does not work, right? This is the only math joke, one of the only math jokes I get to tell all year. So here it is, right? SSA does not work because it's ass backwards, right? So there it is. Okay, so again, give me a second. I gotta do a little bit more reset here, reset my screen, and I'm gonna do some examples for you with identifying these triangle congruence criteria. All right, folks, so here are some examples for you, right? So I have a couple of triangle diagrams here, and we are going to mark which triangle congruence criteria would apply to these diagrams, okay? So my first one, hopefully this is pretty simple and easy for us to pick out, but as you notice, I have 3 sets of corresponding sides, right? 1, 2, and 3, right? So this has got to be side, side, side. Okay, right. For number 2, another one that's a little easier to pick out, I have 2 sets of sides. So this side, right, this set of sides, and this set of sides. I know it's only technically one side, but we know that any side length, any number, any figure, right, is congruent to itself. So whenever you see diagrams like this that have 2 triangles where you have a side that is shared, right, then you can mark it as congruent to itself. So I have 2 sides here and an angle that is trapped between them, right? So see, you have a side here, and the angle is trapped between them. So this is side, angle, side would be my identification here, okay? I'm going to skip 3 for a second because there's a couple of different criteria that would work here. Okay, so let's look at 4. Okay, so if we look at 4, right, I have one set of sides. Okay, one set of sides, which means it can't be this one or this one. So it's got to be one of these 2. And if you see, the side is trapped between 2 sets of angles, right? Each side is trapped between 2 sets of angles. Okay, which means that this one is congruent by ASA, where the side is trapped between the 2 angles. Okay. All right, and then my very last one here, 5, again, is another side, 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 right? You have one set of sides, 2 set of sides, 3 set of sides. Right, so one side, 2 side, 3 side. So that is side, side, side. Okay. All right, let's go back up and look at 3. Okay. So just with what is marked on the diagram right now, I have 2 angles and 1 side. Okay, so I I can eliminate these first two based on that. Okay, so just with what is marked on the diagram right now, I have two angles and then this side, but the side is off to the side. It's not trapped between them. So just based on the diagram with what is marked right now, I would check AAS, okay, because I have two angles and the side that is not trapped in between them. But, okay, just like with this one up here, the side angle side where you had two angles that are two triangles that shared a side, and down here, same thing, I have two triangles that share a side. Well, I can also do that right here. Okay, they've marked these with little X's. You'll see me most of the time mark them with their own, like you just mark them with the dashes to know that it's congruent to itself. Okay, so now, now I have a couple of different scenarios that work here, right? So if we include this side that is congruent to itself and take a look, I have a side, an angle, and a side, right? So two sides and an angle trapped between them. So SAS would work. Or I have an angle, another angle, and a side trapped between them. So it could also be ASA, right? So, but again, the one that was explicitly marked with the information in the diagram would be angle, angle, side. All right, y'all, so that is it for this video. In the next one, I'm going to do a couple of practice problems for you, some quick ones that deal mostly with this idea, with identifying triangle congruence criteria. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.